Welcome back. 17 minutes past 8. Well, South Africa really is pulling out all the stops to be a competitive global player and to meet its fourth industrial revolution targets. In April, President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed 30 industry players to serve in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission. So let's talk about this. What exactly does this mean, and find out what the Commission has done so far. In studio with us, we've got the Minister of Communications, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, who's also the coordinator of the Commission. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Leanne, and good morning to the viewers at home.
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to talk to this excitement that is happening around South Africa. I mean, we've just come from KwaZulu-Natal. Yesterday, we saw South Africans coming out in their numbers to welcome the Springboks. And I think one of the great things was the ability of the public broadcaster to be able to show that match. That was a big move for us, wasn't it?
It was a great move, not just big, and it inspired hope to say the kind of a public broadcaster that we expect as the nation. And you guys, well done.
Yeah.
We're so proud.
And it's important. It's important to allow South Africans to see these things, these positive things that are developing here. And I know we're not going to delve too much on the public broadcaster right now in the interview, but just, is this a sign of things to come for the turnaround that we're talking to for the SABC and the things that South Africans deserve from a public broadcaster?
Definitely, South Africans deserve a lot from the public broadcaster, but one of the key things that the public broadcaster also has to consider is the fact that as we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution now, what kind of a society do we envision in the future?
Yeah.
Right now we're celebrating the World Rugby Champions, the Springboks, but do you think people will be sitting at home in the lunch to watch whatever the news quality that will be leading the team? Will they be sitting at home?
Yeah.
If not, because people will see gradually they're migrating to the online platforms, and that's where the public broadcaster has to occupy the space. If you look into the trends, Google, if you look into YouTube, most people in South Africa are getting to that space. Numbers are increasing day by day, and the turnaround strategy of the public broadcaster has to address those. Let the public broadcaster be the public broadcaster of choice, so that it doesn't restrict people. We all want to watch Springbok or whatever team that makes us proud, or any other important activity as the society.
Indeed, and we want to watch it wherever we are, whenever we can, and that's a wonderful thing. Look, I mean, we're already looking at different ways that we can do that as a country. So we're talking to this Commission for technology, the fourth industrial revolution moving forward. What work has the Commission already done so far?
Well, proudly so, yesterday the Commission presented its draft report to the chairperson of the Commission, which is the President of the country. They met for the first time after their appointment, because we took a conscious decision that the Commission has to do some work so that by the time it meets with the President, then they can hand over and say, President, this is the draft work, what are your thoughts? And the main importance of establishing that commission is to get a coordinated approach of South Africa. We talk about global competitiveness, but how do we make sure that we speak from one voice? It can be different messengers, but at least the voice has to be the same. To say in South Africa, we want to claim our rightful place. We've missed out on the other three revolutions, but let the fourth industrial revolution be an era where we change how we do things. We're not happy of our economic status, but we're also excited. We have hope because of the work that was done by the investment conference and the pledges that were made there. But how do we make sure that those pledges find expression in the localization of the services so that we can turn around the economic status? And that report talks to that.
Yeah. I want to talk about the targets of this commission. Break it down for us so that we can actually understand what it is that we're working towards.
As I said, a country's plan or a coordinated approach on the fourth industrial revolution, but most importantly, not just government plan. I said a country's plan, which means unlike the NDP, which we had a country's plan, but we did not go to an extent of developing sectoral plans. Here we are saying there's going to be a country plan where everybody must then know that this is what we're supposed to do, and then the different sectors must come up with their responsive strategies to say how we're going to enhance utilization of the 4IR technologies to ensure that, for example, as we're also good in agriculture as the country, how do we utilize these technologies to make sure that we drive productivity, mining, in other platforms that we're talking about, your mining, your tourism, how do we enhance technologies? Therefore, they identify the key sectors for growth where we can leverage on 4IR technologies. They identify key policies, because right now our policies and legislations, especially in the telco sector, they were all voice driven. Now we're talking in the fourth industrial revolution, the fact that data is the new oil, and therefore all the laws have to be data centric, and appreciate the fact that, as I said earlier, the public broadcaster must respond to the new technologies, which means I can't be sitting at home. Therefore, what does that mean for a legislator and a regulator to say, if I am to regulate, how do I make sure that I can get tax from Uber, because South Africa deserves to get money because the people are spending on those. That's just another example.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and if we compare ourselves to the rest of the world, we talk about the fourth industrial revolution as if it's something that's still coming. We're living it. This is happening, and it's happening now. One of the big issues is we can talk to all of this, but data is the new oil, but it is so expensive in South Africa. And I know that must be a bugbear of yours, because, to try and implement all of these things that people want to do, but the access to data is still for the elite. It really is. It's a very expensive thing. We've got to bring those costs down. Where are we at there?
Well, the data that we refer to as the new oil is the data in terms of the information.
Information,
but of course,
indeed.
Coming to the cost to communicate, which we utilize through data, as you correctly put it. We can't drive any successful fourth industrial revolution without reducing the costs. The constitution of this country is very clear that the people must have access to information. And access to information in these days, it means I must have access to data, and if it's not affordable, then I would have been deprived of that right. That is why, as the department, you saw in July, we issued a policy direction on spectrum to enable the regulator to kickstart the process of licensing. As a result, last Friday, ICASA issued an information memoranda that seeks to gather industry opinions on the approach that the regulator seeks to undertake in the process of licensing. It's a 3-month process. Definitely after January, the regulator is going to kickstart. And with that, we are hoping that it's going to contribute, because key to the data price is the issue of the infrastructure cost, which is why we said as government, there's a need for us to even come up with a digital industrial strategy to say, how do we look at infrastructure, which is, again, one of the key strategies that's going to come out of the work that's being done by the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission, to say, what kind of infrastructure do we need in South Africa? What do we invest in? And how do we incentivize the private sector to make sure that it goes massively, and we cannot have areas that do not have access to internet? We talk of bridging the digital divide. Right today, as I'm talking to you, we have 20 million people who are unconnected in South Africa. We are saying, let's go out there. Our people deserve the best. It doesn't matter where they are. One thing about the internet, it does away with the geographical areas where we are putting people based. You are in Sentin, you are in this area, therefore you deserve. It doesn't care. The internet treats us equally, and therefore the citizens must not miss out on that opportunity.
And it is. One of the big concerns with technology is always the talk of job losses that accompany this, and it is a bit of a concern for people that are not skilled to deal with this. So obviously skills transfer is a very big thing, but it was you in conjunction working with one of the SETAs, I think it was the MICT SETA, where you were saying that by 2030, 1 million jobs need to be created in this sector. How do we do that? Obviously we need to go right back to education and start from a very, very young age in coding, robotics, all of these kind of things, so these jobs can be created. Perhaps you can let us know, how do we plan on doing this?
We have, as the department, conducted a study on the digital skills gap in South Africa. Now we're in a process of presenting to Cabinet our digital skills strategy to say, where are we as South Africa? As we are doing this work as the department, the Commission is also working that under the work streams that it has, the 8 work streams. One of the key work streams there, because we have taken an approach early and to say, this technology, this 4IR that we're talking about must be people-centered and not technology-driven. Of course, it's going to be technology-driven, but let not technology be at the center. Let it be people-centered. And key to that is that building of a capable army that we talk about in the department. People first, let them be skilled. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're qualified or not. You do need a digital skill, which is something that we're encouraging people to make sure that if you're a journalist, make sure that you know how to do digital broadcasting and all those things that go with the technologies that we're talking about. It takes me back now to the training that we're talking about. We launched the first pilot project of training at least 1,000 people as the department with MICT SETA. We have 20,000 people that are being trained by the industry, Telkom, Vodacom, Cisco and others. We're training those people on data science, we're training them on cybersecurity, on digital content development, we're training them on software development, we're training them on drone technology. You may be asking yourself, we have not even licensed commercially. We're engaging with the Minister of Transport to make sure that by the time we license, people will have access to that. I'm responsible for postal services. People of this country are complaining about the delay in delivering the parcels. Can you imagine if we introduce drone to pick up the parcel from the post office and deliver it to your house? Everybody will be a happy person. And of course, as the command of the fourth industrial revolution, I go home smiling because people are really getting the economic spin-off of the technologies. As I said, for me, it's about the people that must get efficient services through the digital technologies that we're talking about.
And it's an exciting future. Technology is exciting, and it's something that we need to be excited about, but we need to have the skills, we need to have the knowledge to do this, because, you know, as much as we say that it may take jobs away, these are job creators in fields and in areas. Computers don't make themselves. People make them, and that's where we need to come in. So I think it's exciting, I really do, and I wish you the best of luck with this going forward, and let's meet these targets, let's get these jobs going. And our Minister of Communications, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, who is here not only in that capacity, but talking to us about this Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission, and of course she is heading up that one and is a coordinator of it. So good luck. Thanks for checking in with us.
Thank you so much, Leanne, and we're looking forward to the partnership with the public broadcaster as we drive the skills revolution.
All right, let's take a break here on the program. When we return, we'll get back to that book fever.